XL2 fans just kind of still hanging in there.
That's got to be Bianca, surely. Like,
just like XL2 currently is just kind of hanging in there. And I said, look, Element Mystic maybe don't want to go back to the Bastion because it works out so poorly for them. However, that was against the likes of Talon. Can XL2, now after seeing kind of the blueprint of what they need to do against Doha, can they actually execute the same way Talon did? Otherwise, Element Mystic, they're happy to run something they practiced.
And again, there is the possibility that XL2 had already prepared something into a Bastion on Horizon Lunar Colony, and, you know, seeing how it went for Talon would only embolden that. Or it could be that, like you said, they're like wholesale gonna copy Talon, go like, hey, it worked for them, maybe it could work for us. Either way, again, we look at this as somewhere for XL2 to start finding some more success against EM.
And is it going to be a wholesale copy or a cheap knockoff? XL2 have that to prove currently. They have the right composition. The Mei out on the board for Speedily. They need to be able to make sure that Doha does not get the impact.
First rotation. Oh, dear. Well, Doha got some impact, and then Sparkle got a little bit more in that first rotation. I mean, it's already over for XL2 on that
way
push.
Over.
That was just disastrous.
Sparkle's going to just send you straight back to spawn with that kind of move, and this is partially what kind of wasn't working for EM versus Talon on this map as well. We didn't quite see Sparkle getting these opening frags while the attacking team were on rotation. Currently with XL2, they need to be able to deal with this where, okay, you got to dodge the damage from the Bastion, but also, where is Sparkle?
All right. Straight again, XL2 decided to put the wall a little bit further forward, but Sparkle still finds his way in. Haku gets finished off. Gig as well.
This is a reset.
Yep, this is, I mean, I don't even know if this is a cheap knockoff, right? This looks like a whole different product, and certainly not your preferred brand. A little bit spicy to drop Sparkle there, but Resable maybe.
I said hold on because Buds was really looking for a 1v1 versus Doha before realizing it's actually about a 1v3. Sparkle gets rezzed as well, so even that one player advantage amounts to nothing at the end of the day. XL2, if they lose one member, it's maybe recoverable if they can get that trade immediately. If they lose two members, realistically, they just have to restart.
And they keep losing like two or more right at the top of the rotation as it is. Now, let's try it again. Let's take a rotation, get them
That's not a bad
the
pull.
low ground. This is looking a little bit better for them.
It's already kind of displacing Element Mystic, but the one member they wanted was Doha. They couldn't quite get him off the high ground, so he's still there right now, but we are on the point. XL2 have done that.
That's a nice one. Big one as well. No res available for Doha. This is the fight for XL2 now, all things considered. Even with the ultimates here for Element Mystic, Sparkle gets picked off. No immortality field. The amplification matrix is all well and good, but who's really benefiting from it? Alpha and Hanbin would have to get a lot done with it. Not going to get it done. And now XL2 capping that point. A little bit rough to start, but they do get it done.
And cap pressure is exactly what you need. You have to credit Gig here because he was the one that had that nice hold, pulling members off, including Alpha. You lost one of your main tanks on the EM defensive side. That allows XL2 now to apply pressure on the point, force a rotation from EM, and put Doha in a bad spot. Speaking of bad spot, here comes the Blizzard.
Man, they want to get into this one quick, smart, some good freezes here, but it's actually Buds the first casualty. They finally trade that off with Doha, but this has not been the clean push that XL2 were wanting. It will not be the snowball, even though they had the Mei. And XL2 rebuffed on this one. Question is, how will they approach it moving forward?
You got to thank the rest of the members here because Doha goes down super early in no tank form once more. Does he stay on this hero? You'd like to imagine that because he does have the ultimate, the answer is yes. Sparkle is going to go back onto the fire. We saw this on the B defense versus Talon.
Yeah.
It had mixed results, partially because Sparkle rocket barrage in a really bad spot.
And you'd like to imagine he's not going to make that same mistake twice, dare I say it.
Oh, that's sick.
That's a rough one for XL2. Again, just getting so buffeted in these rotations.
Even though it's just one fat rocket, the fact that they all got pulled together by Alpha, Sparkle's charging up that rocket barrage ever so steadily. If that's not enough, the insurance policy, the tank form's still available. Doha just has to use it.
He only just swapped, right? Already at 80%. All right, well, KSB up on the high ground. He's going to remove some structures. They found Unique and Doha, which is nice. They're just making it happen. Sparkle, I pointed it out at 80%, and he didn't get any more over the rest of that fight. XL2 just kind of walked into an opportunity there.
Doha's, I don't know what's going on. The B points, man, he's just not present in these kind of games. And that is a shocking cap coming through from XL2 because you have to feel that EM had what it took to be able to continue holding what XL2 have eventually kept, maybe, but not this early. This has been a pretty decent run now, considering how poorly A went at the beginning. They eventually get on the cap, they eventually display Bastion, they get that cap through, and now we're starting to see once more for EM. For some reason, the Bastion on the B defense, on both A and B defenses, is just really struggling.
And that's the thing, maybe XL2's thinking going into this had nothing to do with talent or their own strats. Maybe the thinking actually was they saw what they knew EM's strat to be, this Bastion, and then adding the Farah to that on the B, and went, yeah, I don't think that's that good. I think we could just beat that regardless without having to prep for it, without having to practice. Doesn't mean they haven't prepped and practiced, don't get me wrong, but this feels like it's almost coming down more to Element Mystic not having the right ideas here, or not having the right execution than it is to XL2.
However, the concern now for me is now that Element Mystic are attacking, we know just how good their offenses have been so far in this tournament. And XL2, yes, they got 3 minutes 11 on their time back, but similar to what we saw on King's Row, is that going to matter at all? Element Mystic just going to blitz through this entire map. Now that they've had the attack, and now that they get to attack, are they just going to say, here's how you do it, kids?
And look, A to B was kind of like night and day for XL2, just with how hard those rotations were to begin with. You've now got to hope for XL2 that the defense is like night and day compared to the offense as well, wherein they want to have a much cleaner one, a much tidier one, not just have that like one big burst breakthrough moment. They want this to be a consistent slow burn.
Sparkle's maybe expecting a potential Bastion defense here, and he was going to be right. As they get into that first rotation, XL2, what can they do with the same type of composition? Note that they're placing the Bastion much further away instead of on the corner.
So how do Element Mystic approach it? They too kind of want it to be night and day. They want their offense to go a lot better than what their defense did when all was said and done.
So by the way, this particular composition, as Gig takes down Alpha, is much more of a defensive comp where you just want to keep KSP safe. They aren't running the Doomfist on Speedily, where Sparkle is playing the Doomfist and Doha on that particular Bastion. So they're not trying to disrupt the rotation, they're just trying to keep KSP away from danger.
Nice sleep dart. It just burns a bit of time off the clock. By the way, they saw those doors out to the exterior open and close, and no one came back through. So they do know that Doha is probably out there, may go for a flank. This isn't really a sneaky wraparound by the Reaper, and Element Mystic still actually need to regroup and rotate.
Look at Haku here. If he can land a really good Bionet, that's a pretty decent one. That could really hamper the push.
Yeah, they are slowed right back down, have to retreat down the stairwell. The Halt nearly keeps Alpha in the line of fire long enough to kill him, but not quite. So again, Element Mystic, they get to regroup, but this is that slow burn. This is a lot of time gone now.
This is the fight, though. The walls are coming through. How safe is KSP? We still need to see Immortality Field. Like you mentioned, Hanbin down first.
Yeah, between a rock and a cold place, I suppose. Just the two walls sandwiching Hanbin in with about 3 opponents. Not quite what Element Mystic were wanting to get out of their own ice wall. Now Doha down as they try to make the rotation onto the point. And this is just super clean from XL2.
They're going to be able to, I say they were maybe going to be able to stall out Unique there as well, stagger him through. He was sleeping for the time being. But Haku landed another great Bionade on Element Mystic as they were trying to aggress onto the point, and that really just shuts a lot of their members down. KSP notably stays alive here. Tank Form is coming up online soon, and he was just kept so safe throughout that entire thing. Doha tried to get something done, KSP takes him down, and look at this now.
Ooh, brutal rotation. The Ice Wall not quite in time to save Sparkle and Alpha. This is high value for XL2. Just the one ultimate, another stopped rotation, more time wasted for Element Mystic.
I will say the silver lining, though, in terms of high value, is Element Mystic lost very quickly. So they get to reset very quickly. They don't waste a lot of time trying to get rotations in there, trying to save members. It's just going to be a quick there and back. This one, however, is a little bit more upsetting because it's one player that you have to wait for.
I was going to say, it's, you know, they need to be losing quickly if they are losing because they don't have much time, and then losing Doha so late is just brutal because what was recoverable is now turned into a whole minute lost.
Well, that's the thing, is because if Doha goes down there, you can basically look at that as one extended fight, and, well, Element Mystic finally do get this reset in there.
They try to do it. Tried to do it this time with that Nano Boost instead of the Amplification Matrix. Didn't quite work out. Its first rotation is there.
I actually think you really want to be saving the Nano Boost for when Element Mystic make the rotation onto point, and you got to go in because you still have Tank Form. Tank Form plus Nano Boost is a very valuable combo that XL2 have not put themselves in position to use anymore, but they got a lot of other ults.
So this could well be Element Mystic's last push, just with how the timings have worked out. It is slow going against this Bastion. You kind of have to take it one rotation at a time, and already Hanbin brought low, and XL2, they know it could be the last fight. They're happy to throw everything that they've banked up in this time into the mix here. Nice reposition to drill down the remains of Alpha. And now a firing line finds Sparkle, who was nearly back in cover. MCD as well. 25 seconds as there are still members of Element Mystic dying. I don't know if they get back to this one, Kevin.
Let's just pretend we're an upside down world where I said, okay, Element Mystic are attacking now. They're going to show you how it's done. But really, it's XL2 showing Element Mystic how it's done in terms of running the Bastion. KSP is untouched. KSP is killing all the members. He's still got the tank form. Haku might even have another nano boost soon.
And you got to believe this was XL2's plan all along with how tidy the play has been. Overtime does get forced out. XL2 digging deep. Last few ultimate supercharger and tank form. Not actually getting much done. Hanbin is brought low though. If they can finish him off, it's at least a numbers advantage. If not, they're going to have to start respecting Goa and Sparkle. And well, here they come.
That's not what you want to see. Doa's not going to hit anybody with that Sparkle. Their last chance. The Blizzard coming through.
It gets gigged. That's one thing done. They also got rid of the Immortality Field speedily as well. They finished off Sparkle, and they've still got a firing line with KSP and the Amplification Matrix. Hanbin going down big. XL2 need to stay as stable as possible. The Nano Boost as well. They're just souping up this Bastion as much as they can. He is the focal point of this, and as long as he's still alive, Element Mystic are still going to struggle to actually keep good presence on this point.
And they're just losing members so quickly. Unique's down
Boom!
again. And the overtime just ticks down so quickly in that kind of scenario. And this now is truly what XL2 have been waiting for. They got close in our opening map of Achilios. Close is not good enough. This was much better.
And that was brilliant from XL2 at the end there as well. I talked about that slow burn defense with the Bastion. It ended up even being the case in the final fight. It wasn't about getting all the numbers, getting all the kills and sending them packing. That fight went for a long time. When you've got the Bastion, a long fight means you keep firing on that point. If the Bastion's untouched, eventually either they die or they can't stay on it and the overtime disappears too quickly. It's not often it works out that the fight ends with the latter of those, but it did here, and it's so impressively technical. You have to say XL2, they're still in this series big time.
And we have to look at Element Mystic now and say, okay, is it a rough day at work? They thought they were going to have a little bit of time off here, but it looks like overtime for them instead. Map number 4 coming up soon. XL2 take one back.
Well then, welcome back, and AVRL, I think I've figured it out. I think it's us. Whenever whenever we're here, it's interesting, right? Element Mystic,
right.
Don't just like march on through to the end, right? Look, yeah, it might have only been one map, might still only be one map, but XL2 are making it interesting. And hey, we're the common element.
I'll be honest, like even if Element Mystic win this one, going up against Atlanta Academy, that'll be interesting as well.
It will be very interesting.
It just seems like there's no easy path for them so far in this particular tournament. Right here in the series, we're into map 4. EM once again probably not expected. They weren't expecting to be in a map 4 where they have to choose a map again. They dropped Horizon Lunar Colony again.
Twice now they've had to pick that map, and twice now it's been Dorado. So look, we saw how Dorado went versus Talon. They were able to take it out relatively cleanly as they were Kings Row. We saw how Kings Row went against XL2 earlier. You've got to see that, look, the pattern suggests still that this is Element Mystic's map to lose, and that means it's their series to win.
We do also have to consider the fact that we have seen Dorado already as well. Farah is going to be a problem that XL2 need to be able to deal with, and they need to deal with it soon because they are still facing EM who are at match point, and we're about to see who comes out on top of this one in map 4 of Dorado.
And I've got to expect that they can deal with that Farah. Certainly maybe tidier than what Talon can, but hey, I've been wrong before, no shame in it. I could well be wrong again. Still don't know what that third one is, but I mean, XL2 just had a little bit more heart behind it this time.
1.5 maybe. Just a little bit extra for XL2 there, who need a little bit extra if they want to stay alive in this current series. Still one map down. Element Mystic still at match point. It's still not easy. Again, this is where the tables turn massively in Element Mystic's favor versus Talon Esports. Difference was, that was Talon Esports sitting at 2 maps already. XL2 actually can't afford to lose it here at all.
Yeah, it's funny, like, the tables have turned in a sense. As much as, you know, things are the same, Element Mystic lose a map, have to pick Dorado, things have very much changed in that Element Mystic are doing so under very different circumstances in terms of the pressure being applied.
Speaking of pressure, KSP just
again.
We've got a couple of love taps there, one love tap there onto Sparkle, and here it is. The strategy that XL2 have prepared for this map, and it's going to be back to Bastion, and they're saying, look, EM, they sucked against our Bastion on Horizon Lunar Colony, and we do it again.
They're first just going to force Sparkle back. That's step 1. Now if they can get the Bastion a little bit more comfortably around this payload, just keeping it moving.
And they need to draw KSP's attention such that Sparkle can get a nice angle. Once that happens, EM can strike it.
Oh, Alpha goes down early. That's a little bit rough. Also, Sparkle trying to fire into a building that has an immortality field in it is never going to work out for them because he himself can't actually target that immortality field. He can't get a good angle without getting into Bastion's firing line.
And composition-wise as well, Doa on the Doomfist here is not going to match up well into the Bastion either, so XL2 reading this quite well, getting another pick here. EM are just struggling once more to really touch KSP.
XL2 look very comfortable in this position once again, and Element Mystic are slowly but surely getting chipped down. Big rock! Sparkle on the ground, or Sleep Dart rather.
Look at that. 4 assists on KSP. I mean, everybody contributed to that kill on Sparkle. It was an accretion into a Sleep Dart from the Holt itself, and now Alpha is probably not going to make it through.
KSP can finally occupy his perch on the top of the payload. Doha's going to come in and try and keep things interesting, but very quickly KSP drills him down. Maybe looking for a res here as Unique, but honestly, it's too late. The cap's already gone through, so once again, they find themselves in a situation like on Kings Row, where Element Mystic is still around in the fight, but the cap already happened.
And this is so huge so far. EM are now going to change Doa on to the Reaper instead, knowing that this is going to be the far more stable pick walking into XL2. And really, I was going to talk about the Mei, but Sparkle's going to be the one going onto the Mei. I still thought maybe the Farah plus Mei could work, but Reaper Mei is a little bit more stable.
A Rocket Barrage, that's a little bit of a heartbreaker to give up. We also see Unique.
He wouldn't have done much with it, I'll be honest.
So we also see Unique obviously making the swap off the Mercy. Back over to the Lucio. We'll have to see if the Bastion continues having success.
Just gotta dive straight in here.
Oh,
Eyes
boy.
on KSP, who already drills down
No
two.
way! Both the tanks already gone, and we talk about shield meta. Well, when there's no one to project the shield in front of the Bastion, it's free fire, and it was already free fire onto the tanks. It feels like Element Mystic don't really know what to do against this Bastion.
And it's a 5 protect 1 strategy. Again, it's not speedily playing something like a Doom or anything else. It's about one player being the core of the strategy in KSP, being so solid on that card, on that Bastion, and the rest of the 5 doing everything to make sure he's alive, and they have so many tools to do that with.
And they're getting so much time as well to keep setting the Bastion up into these nice positions, even with Doha trying to look for this one. Honestly, KSP doesn't even feel threatened. He barely looked at Doha, even as Doha was shooting at him, and now as the fight breaks out into the courtyard, that's 2 supports down very early. Hanbin can definitely make something happen here. Finds KSP. Helping that one out is the Gravitic Flux, and Hanbin picking up 4 across that fight.
And this is where now EM can finally have a bit of a sigh of relief, because KSP is forced to swap. There's no way he goes on the Bastion still on the next push, especially not after using the tank form to stay alive there. If he still has a tank form, maybe you can push him, because the tank form you can push forward with. But now, this is much more expected. Back on Doom Reaper for this team. Sparkle goes back to spawn, goes on the Doom as well, and now EM can be in a position where they can hold B.
It's a very big reset for XL2. Of course, the support's changing things up just a little bit as well. You drop the Batiste there. They do have a Gravitic Flux, though, so if they can leverage that, they can use that to start charging up other ultimates, look a bit more comfortable moving forwards. Bud's popping it. They find Unique. Nicely done. MCD's Coalescence about to run out. As it does so, there's not much keeping the team in it here.
Oh,
Buzz
nice.
is a ridiculous angle right now. Sparkle is the only one keeping the team in it, and he's keeping them in it in a big way, actually. 3 kills to his name here, and still not shut down. 4 kills to his name. Is it about to be 5? Sparkle, are you kidding me?
He's going to put the team on his shoulders once more. Sparkle's still alive. He's going to be the meteor strike on the team. Doesn't find anybody, and speedily will punch back.
And he nearly got that right on top of Buds. With that though, XL2, they at least had to partially reset within the fight itself. Nice stop on Doha there. He doesn't get too much done with the Death Blossom, but XL2 on the cusp of rolling over, find themselves reset mid-fight, and now we're back to square one.
They got the supercharger in play as well. Let's see what Hanbin can do with this Flux. Not a lot so far, but Sparkle is going to take down Buds.
The supercharger from Gig gets picked up as well. That was maybe what could have kept XL2 in it. They got the sound barrier. That keeps them in it in the length sense, but whether or not they can actually get much done in this fight is looking more and more questionable, because they don't have ultimates to leverage into. As they finally got some up, people started dying because Element Mystic just had more. They had cooldowns earlier.
And this is the fear. The fear for XL2 is we don't make it to the end of B with the Bastion play. We are forced to go on to Reaper Doomfist, play that mirror again. To beat a team like Element Mystic, something like the Bastion is somewhat required for a team like XL2, because if we go into the mirror itself, it becomes really hard to take down someone like Sparkle and a team like Element Mystic.
Alpha's still on this Wrecking Ball, by the way, because he was in a kind of half stall mode, but now with the minefield down, XL2 sort of make that rotation well enough. It's a 1-for-1 as they look to commit more cooldowns. Nice wrap around. They unfortunately lose Buds to the mine. A little bit awkward there. And now lose Gig as well. There's one from Doha right in the thick of things. Speedily squeaks out with his Meteor Strike. KSP dies as he started channeling the Death Blossom. I don't know what happened there, but it didn't look great. XL2 kept in it by Speedly, but this is such an awkward fight all around.
And it's taking a long time, and that's a big problem for XL2, because they're the ones that need the time. They're the ones that are potentially in one-fight territory now. Looking at the 35-second mark, Alpha now changing back on the Orisa is going to be able to get back to the point in time as well. So EM don't even have that thing as a deficit for XL2's final push.
And what if you just let yourself die? You're Speedly, you're KSP, you don't use the Meteor Strike to get out. You just let yourself die. KSP doesn't press the Death Blossom button. You had those for this fight if you did that. Instead, you're in Hanbin's Flux without really anything you can do about it. Now MCD's got a Coalescence. You're already 2 tanks down. Now your DPSs really have to make hay, and they don't have the ultimates to do it. XL2 getting absolutely mowed down one by one, not even on the payload as the overtime comes into play. XL2, You said it was the fear come true. The Bastion gets forced off the cart ahead of the cap. They never regained control.
And if the snowball makes it to the end of the mountain here, they at least can't be. They probably don't get C with the Bastion. A little bit too hard to navigate the angles there with the high ground, but that would have been enough, because then you start to go into a composition where we can just grind our way through C and perhaps use that as a defending ground, such that when we get to C on our own defense, it's still possible to win. But this is the kind of distance we're looking at where for XL2, I don't think this is enough. I think Element Mystic are going to get to B in a pretty quick manner through A, and then suddenly XL2 have to pull out all the stops. Well, their run in this group, unfortunately, is going to be cut short, at least for now, as they'll drop to the lower side.
Certainly feeling that way. Element Mystic, I mean, again, we draw the parallel to King's Row. I drew it at the top of this map. They just outclassed XL2. In fact, on that one, XL2 actually got further and even looked like they might cap it out, but they didn't. And off the back of that, Element Mystic's offense so good, they felt like they had very little trouble. They don't even need to get, well, they do need to get more than half of that distance, but you know what I mean, right? It's just even easier than what it would have been on King's Row.
So this is what it's going to be for XL2 once again. Stay true to what was working, I guess, which is going to be the Bastion here. I mean, it's what's gotten them the furthest in the map so far, especially Horizon Lunar Colony. Various parts now, basically all of the sections where they were running the Bastion on their own offense. If this does nothing but waste a lot of time for Element Mystic, it could still be very valuable.
All right. Element Mystic, they fancy the Pharah. See how long they fancy it for. XL2 in a nice position.
This is a very difficult position. I say that as Buzz gets knocked to the low ground. This is actually going to be the bunker rotating because they can't quite maintain the position. So Sparkle, very nice, concussive blast. Yeah,
getting the 2 tanks. I mean, even one barrier you can maybe try and keep in that. You probably still have to rotate, but with both they just had to reposition. Oh, Doha does at least take one down with them, but it's a good trade.
This is a very good trade for Element Mystic because Doha can come back so quickly. Hardku, not quite the same. He's gonna have to walk his slow granny legs all the way back to A. Element Mystic have a small player advantage for now.
Sparkle also got brought very low. If they'd picked him off, then XL2 might be in a little bit happier spot, but unfortunately they didn't. So now he's where he always seems to be on Pharah. About a minute in, nearly with an ultimate.
How far back does XL2 have to go? Yes, they did get Alpha, but the card is moving forward ever so steadily. Sparkle still in the air, and the trade is good.
That's also getting Alpha with the amplification Matrix, who now gets rezzed anyway. Like, that's already not a high valuable ultimate if that's all you get. Then it gets traded, then he gets rezzed, and now you're all rocketed down to the ground. The barrage, absolutely massive. Buds does find Sparkle, but it's a consolation prize, and not a particularly handsome one at that.
And that could have been far worse, but the issue for XL2 is they already used Immortality Field earlier. OG was down anyway, so they just didn't quite have the defense. Speedily wasn't really in a position to do much. He used the Ice Wall, low HP. KSP doesn't have the tank form either, and Element Mystic find the right win condition, the right timing to get through A. Speaking of timing, they have about 5 minutes to get to the end here. Sparkle's down, but Riz may be available.
May just be. In fact, should be, and there it goes. It does buy XL2 a fraction of a hair of time to just set up a little bit.
You have to look at XL2 here. What can they do? Because they're losing a couple things here. Mortality Field, once again, is going to go down. KSP forced to use tank form to try and contest.
This is not looking hot for XL2. The tank form about to run out, having not really gained much. In fact, goes down right into MCD's Coalescence. It's a decent Blizzard, though, but it's recovery Blizzard here for XL2, and they still need to get more done.
Desperation Blizzard.
That's the thing, is Element Mystic, they're still so comfortable. It's like you lose a couple of members to that Blizzard, but it's nowhere near enough to really put you on the ropes. They've still got so much more left to fight on.
XL2 needed to bleed way more time off the clock if they wanted any hope of defending this position. EM are already set up here. Doha already in position to get a nice punch in.
Just waiting for it. Biding his time. Patient man. They're still looking to set up this Bastion.
This may be the last setup as well. We still have a lot of spam coming through from from Sparkle, but also Speedily now also on that Mara.
There's the one. That's a nice one early on. Sparkle gets res. Speedily's found out now as they're looking to make the play on top of the Bastion and the rest of the team. It's not looking good. Element Mystic just have it all. They know their marks. They know how to execute. They know how to take them down. That Bastion, shame on me if you fool me twice. Element Mystic, again, stay the course. They will walk out of this the topmost seed from the group. XL2, though, their day isn't quite done.
Finish all their paperwork on time, file it in. Wave goodbye to your boss, Element Mystic. They're done for the day, at least for now. XL2 moving towards that lower bracket to face Talon Esports, and what a way for Element Mystic to win as well, because they actually were able to overcome the Bastion. Was it going to be a continued problem for this team for the rest of the tournament? At some stage, they needed to be able to beat the strategy, and they were able to do that long at last.
Yeah, XL2 is still stuck at the office, right? They, I don't know, they mucked up a project, boss made them stay late, now they're going to have to do a little bit of
XL2
overtime.
are on call, they never stop working.
yeah, exactly. And meanwhile, Element Mystic are already off to the bar. They're about to have a great time. But look, on the whole, similarly to Talon, but in a very different ball game, I think XL2 can have a little bit of pride here. Like, there are moments where they really took it to Element Mystic. The difference is, I think we also saw all the ways in which Element Mystic, frankly, outclass XL2. And with that, officially outclass everyone else in the group, as was expected.
And they move on now to the top 8, where they will be facing Atlanta Academy further on in the tournament. They're on the upper side of the bracket, whereas both teams that do make it through from here, XL2 and Talon Esports, will be on the lower side of the bracket. They still got to play for seeding in the match following from this, and we now have a little bit of data to work with because both teams have played against Element Mystic. But you gotta say, when Talon played against EM, it felt like they could win. It felt like maybe they should have won in several stages. When you watch XL2 play against Element Mystic, you just didn't quite have that belief.
And now we do get to really get that stratification within the group, right? We get that satisfying way of having it play out, whereupon, look, EM, they've really proved that they deserve that top seed after this. XL2 and Talon play. Whoever wins that really deserves the second seed, so on and so forth. You don't have a situation where a team that maybe goes through with the first seed hasn't played some other team in the group. So you've got to say this is your ideal way for the day to shake out in many ways.
And this is kind of where you expected the day to shake out. I mean, in terms of early predictions, right? You look at Element Mystic, you're saying they're definitely getting out of this group. Most likely in the first seed as well. You start to look down the list. Some people would have probably said XL2, the most likely to get the second seed. Personally, for me, I'm saying Talon most likely to get through. We still don't know yet because they still got to play against each other. So realistically, either of those things could still happen. I think the only thing that was widely agreed upon was that HSL were probably going to be eliminated from this group, sadly, and that's what happened.
And of course, the other thing, you know, Element Mystic, we can say it over and over again, they have earned that spot now that they were expected to earn. They come in, as we said, actually as the highest Korean seed in these groups because Runaway get that automatic seed further forth. And look, there are still questions about what that head-to-head really looks like now that it's actually been some time since the playoffs of Korean Contenders as well. Well, Element Mystic, unfortunately, don't quite get to come up against Runaway straight away. They come up against Atlanta Academy instead as their first match in the finals bracket. But you expect that if they continue to move forward, eventually they're going to come up against Runaway. That's when they can really start proving that they're actually not just the best of Group A, they're the best of the tournament.
And you mentioned this slightly, but, you know, Atlanta Academy, I'm also looking forward to that one in particular because we have had some hard matches for Element Mystic so far. They've played in every single matchup where they have dropped maps versus Talon. They could have even lost that series. So we are in a position where once they go up against ATL, they might actually lose that one because Atlanta Academy, if you were to power rank all the teams here, should be fairly high up on that list. So if there's one team, especially a Western team, a non-Korean team, that is actually going to take down Element Mystic, surely that's Atlanta Academy.
You'd like to think so, right? If it isn't going to be Talon, who already came close, and again, you talk about, you know, God has bled in a way. The weakness has been seen, and you expect a team like Atlanta Academy to actually go that extra step that Talon couldn't earlier today, and that's where things really start to open up in this tournament. And that's what I think this first match did for us today is like, or that first match rather, is it set that precedent. Let's go ahead and see how Element Mystic feel about this match, though. We're going to be catching up with them in just a few hot seconds. I believe they have Doha. Let's see what he feels about this.